Hey folks, Ray from DCRainmaker.com here. Today I've got TomTom's newest wearables, which is the TomTom Spark 3 and Runner 3. This falls on their TomTom Runner and Spark series from last year. You'll remember that watch basically introduced an optical heart rate sensor into it, as well as updated the entire lineup. This one takes an incremental step and adds navigation to it. So TomTom being a bit of a navigation company, it makes sense to go ahead and add a rather simplistic form of navigation onto the watch itself. Now the way this works is you go ahead online with a computer and upload a GPX file. GPX files are the standard for going ahead and transferring GPS routing information. So it's kind of an industry standard. It's an easy way to get files and directions uploaded to a device. Once that's done, you go ahead and be able to sync up to 15 routes onto the watch itself. You can do that either via your USB ports on your computer or via mobile app with Bluetooth Smart. This is Bluetooth Smart capable. At that point, you can go ahead and select the route. So you'll go into one of the modes here to select a route, and then once that's done, you can go ahead and use two different screens to view the route. So there is no concept of waypoints or anything like that. It's just a rather simplistic following routes. But TomTom has made it pretty advanced in terms of how complex those routes can be. So it doesn't have to be just a simple point-to-point route. You can actually have multiple trails on a single uploaded route or trail within the watch itself, which is pretty impressive. So if I was going hiking and didn't quite know what route I wanted, like a day hike, for example, I could upload all of those trails onto the watch and then go ahead and just kind of route on based on whatever I wanted to. So it uses a simple breadcrumb style approach. So you can go ahead and see here where once I've selected that route, I can go ahead and you'll see kind of an overall view of where I am on the route, as well as a zoomed in view if I'd like. And then all of the units have a magnetic compass as well, so you can go ahead and use that compass to see which direction you're facing and kind of some primitive routing there. Now once you're done, you've completed your route or completed your activity, you can go and upload it back up to TomTom's site. And what's cool here is you can actually see your route compared to where your activity was. So you can see where you might have missed a turn, for example, or if you just went and kind of freewheeled it for a bit, you'll see that on the site itself. That's something that most other GPS companies don't do. You can't really kind of compare what you're supposed to do with what you actually did. So that's a bit of a nice touch. So the Spark 3 and Runner 3 will start shipping next week on September 8th. They start off $129 for the base version, and then it gets more expensive up to $299, and those are Euro prices. I'll put the US dollar prices down on the bottom there. Depending on whether you want things like the optical heart rate sensor on the back, as well as music, this can go music to Bluetooth headphones, and then if you want those Bluetooth headphones included as well. So that's just a quick overview of the TomTom Spark 3 and the Runner 3, but there's actually another watch, which is the watch I'm technically holding right now, which is the TomTom Adventurer. Now that takes that same concept I just talked about there, except steps it up a notch with the barometric altimeter. So by adding this small barometric altimeter that you see on the back right there, it allows them to go ahead and track altitude more accurately, which in turn gives an ability to do different sport modes. So it adds in, for example, the skiing and snowboarding mode. That's a mode that you've seen on the Garmin kind of super high-end watches, you know, the $500 plus watches over the past couple of years, and that will go and track your skiing and snowboarding runs, which is pretty cool. So as you go down the ski run, it automatically tracks that you're skiing, and then as soon as you hit the chairlift and start going back up again, it'll give you a split on the watch itself and show you what that run time was and your speed, as well as your descent on that run. But they've taken that same concept and applied it to other sports, for example, trail running, to show your ascent as well within the activity. So it's designed to be a bit more simplistic than, again, those $500, $600 competitors, but it certainly hits that niche of being able to have a barometric altimeter on a device that otherwise isn't in that same, again, expensive price range. But perhaps one of the coolest features of this watch is actually its ability in the hiking mode to reduce the GPS recording rate. So it reduces it to every 2 seconds while still keeping your heart rate at every 1 second, which in turn gives you 24 hours of GPS on battery life. And that's actually pretty darn impressive. If you look at something like the Garmin Fenix 3 series or the Suunto Ambit series, they have these sort of modes like an ultra track or a lesser quality mode, but in that case it ends up being like once every minute or a couple times every minute, which isn't very much in terms of actual track files and what your track looks like afterwards. Every 2 seconds while you're hiking is totally legit and completely normal. So that's a pretty cool difference there, and something that's definitely unique within the TomTom lineup, especially at this price point. Now lastly, the Adventurer won't quite be available next week like the other watches. Instead, you'll have to wait till mid-October for that. It's €299, and it does come with the optical heart rate sensor on the back, as well as music capability, but does not come with headphones, so you need to supply your own Bluetooth headphones. but there's plenty of options out there. They start at like 20 bucks, so there's lots of choices, and they go up to a couple $100 for really expensive ones. If you look at my existing TomTom Runner 2 and Spark review, you'll see mention of a few different headphones that I've been using and testing. Those are the ones that have worked well for me, plus of course TomTom's headphones themselves. With that, thanks for watching. Definitely go ahead and hit that like button down below, as well as the subscribe button to keep informed of all the latest sports technology goodness. September is huge for new sports technology announcements, and you don't want to miss out on any of those. Have a good one.